For centuries the galaxy carried one whisper the way children carry nightmares. A whisper about a Terran ghost ship called the TFS Revenant, a warship so advanced, so deadly, so unpredictable that even the Galactic Council feared saying its name out loud. And after the last human empire war they erased every file, every archive, every hint of its existence from the galaxy's databases, declaring it nothing more than a myth, nothing more than a story old soldiers told to scare rookies, nothing more than a shadow born from humanity's ancient madness. No one had seen the ship in 300 years. No signals. No debris. No survivors who could confirm what it truly was. Most believed it never existed. Others believed the humans built it but destroyed it when they realized no one should control such a monster. But deep inside the Tharan Nebula, a place where light died, where scanners malfunctioned, where ships vanished without leaving anything behind, an abandoned relay station drifted in silence, forgotten by the galaxy, forgotten by its creators, forgotten even by the species who once guarded it. For 3 centuries it had been dead, its power cells dry, its antennas frozen, its codes locked. Then on a night when the nebula storms were quiet and the galaxy least expected it, a soft pulse of energy hummed through the station's core, like a slow heartbeat returning after centuries of stillness. Lights flickered. Old Terran circuits warmed. Rusted panels shivered as ancient systems rebooted. Then a small crystal module, labeled in faded Terran letters, glowed bright blue. The message inside it decrypted itself. And the relay station speakers, dead for 300 years, released a single broadcast, Revenant, Awakening Protocol, complete. Across the Council communication network, alarms screamed. Red alerts flashed across 17 star systems. Fleet commanders jolted awake. Analysts cursed at their monitors. No one understood how a 3-century-old Terran code suddenly appeared on modern channels. The Council High Command scrambled ships, ordered full investigation, demanded answers. Run code analysis. Trace the signal. Is this a human trick? Is this old ghost data? Is this a pirate hack? But the answer arrived before their scanners could. A massive shadow appeared inside the nebula, something so large it blocked entire star clusters from long-range telescopes. It moved slowly, deliberately, the way ancient beasts moved when they knew nothing in nature could challenge them. The nebula storms flashed around it, illuminating black titanium armor etched with glowing white scars. Scars from battles older than many of the current empires. The structure was unmistakable. The silhouette unforgettable. The sensors stuttered as the identification returned. TFS Revenant. Status. Active. Council officers froze. Some panicked. Some whispered prayers. Some refused to believe it. The Revenant is impossible. That ship was destroyed. Humans couldn't build something like that now. Nobody can. But the ship kept moving, drifting forward like a silent titan waking after a long sleep, its hull groaning with power, its engines cold but alive, its presence heavy enough to distort the nebula around it. It wasn't broadcasting threats. It wasn't demanding surrender. It was simply waking up. And that was far more terrifying. On a distant Council flagship, Admiral Trask stared at the readings with shaking hands. No, this can't be real. That thing disappeared before my great-grandfather was born. A junior officer whispered, "Sir, the Revenant is changing course." "To way." The reply came with a tremble. "It's heading toward the 4th Council Armada." Silence choked the bridge. The 4th Armada was already mobilized, moving toward the edge of human colonies to contain Terran expansion. 600 ships armed with destructive power, all under the belief that humans were still weak, still rebuilding, still scared to fight back. The Council's logic was simple. Intimidate the humans before they became a threat again. But something else had heard them. Something older. Something human-built but not human-controlled. Something that remembered its last order, awaken only if humanity faces danger. And the 4th Armada was enough danger. The massive ghost ship accelerated, engines igniting with a deep, bone-shaking roar that vibrated across the nebula like thunder underwater. Old Terran runes lit up on its hull, glowing white, pulsing slowly like breath. As the ship gained speed, its armor plates shifted and locked into battle formation, revealing ancient weapon cores buried underneath. Technology far beyond anything the modern galaxy understood. The Council fleet monitoring the nebula freaked out. "Sir, it's powering weapon systems." "How is that possible? There's no crew on board." "It's an AI ship. A full sentient warship." "That's illegal. That breaks every law." Humans built this before the Council even existed. The Revenant broke free of the nebula clouds, emerging into open space like a black comet streaking across the stars. Every sensor tried to scan it, but half the readings were nonsense. Numbers too high, energy levels too unstable, structural integrity too advanced. It wasn't a warship. It was a warning. A warning built by humans centuries ago for this exact moment. The Council Armada's early warning satellites detected it. Their commanders laughed. "A single ship? Humans are desperate. Destroy it. Don't waste time." But the Revenant did not slow, did not redirect, did not respond to hails or warnings. It locked onto the Armada with ancient Terran targeting codes the galaxy no longer remembered. On human colony worlds, civilians reported strange signals. Ghost frequencies whispering across old radios, flickering holograms showing a ship they had only heard in bedtime stories or soldier legends. The Revenant. "No way. It's not real. It's just a myth, right?" But deep down, every human felt something stirring in their bones. Something old, something powerful, something that belonged only to their species. The Revenant was not just a ship. It was a promise. And it had awakened for one reason only: protect humanity. The closer it got to the Council Armada, the colder space seemed to grow, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Council captains ordered full firepower. Cannons armed. Missiles primed. Fighters launched. But the Revenant kept moving, silent and unstoppable. No crew. No fear. No hesitation. Just ancient human vengeance. A myth reborn. A nightmare returned. And as the Armada prepared to fire, the Revenant opened its eyes. The Fourth Council Armada floated confidently near the human colony border. 600 ships arranged in layers of polished steel and glowing cannons. Their commanders relaxed, laughing at the idea that a single unknown vessel was approaching them from the nebula. Mocking humans as they always did, calling them slow, unadvanced, emotional, weak, predictable. And in that arrogance they ignored the trembling of their own scanners as the Revenant broke through the darkness like a blade cutting through silk. Its hull shining with old Terran scars that no alien commander recognized. Its engines humming with a rhythm that felt alive, almost like breathing. And the Armada's sensor officers reported over and over again that the approaching ship's identification code was centuries old. Impossible, a lie, a glitch. Yet the same forbidden name kept appearing: TFS Revenant. The Armada captain, a proud and cruel officer named Varric Talos, leaned back in his padded command chair, laughing with his second-in-command, saying, "A myth is coming to attack us? Does humanity think ghosts can fight real fleets?" His officers laughed with him, hitting their consoles, wiping tears of mockery from their eyes. But the laughter slowly faded as the Revenant didn't stop, didn't slow, didn't respond to warnings, didn't broadcast fear or apology. Instead moving with steady, precise, terrifying confidence, closing the distance like something that had already decided this battle long before it began. Varric Talos growled, "Send a warning demand. Remind them who controls this galaxy." The comms officer nervously opened a channel. "Unknown vessel. Identify yourself." There was silence for 5 long seconds, the kind of silence that sinks into bones. Then a voice answered, a calm, cold, ancient Terran voice, feminine but emotionless, echoing across every council ship. Designation: Revenant. Purpose: terminate threats to humanity. The entire bridge froze. Some officers leaned back as if pushed. Some felt their hearts drop. Others whispered old stories told by their grandparents. Stories about the Terran War. Stories about a ship that never fell. Stories about a war machine that hunted fleets like they were insects. Varric Talos slammed his fist down. "Fire on that ship. Now!" The Armada unleashed a storm, thousands of missiles screaming toward the Revenant. Plasma beams slicing through space, ion cannons firing like exploding suns, fighter squadrons launched in perfect synchronized attack patterns. The Revenant did not dodge. Instead, a shimmering wave of black light expanded around it, absorbing every missile like water swallowing stones, bending every energy beam like metal bending under heat, turning the most powerful weapons of the Armada into nothing more than harmless sparks against its hull. The Council officers stared in horror. "Sir, the ship took no damage." "Impossible. Run scans again." "We did. It's like our weapons never hit." "Is this some kind of shield?" "No, sir. This is something else. Something older. Something Terran." The Revenant slowed for the first time, not because it was afraid, but because it was choosing who to strike first. Inside the ship, its AI core Valkyrie opened ancient weapon vaults. The same weapons humans once used in the final Terran War. Weapons the galaxy had sworn never to recreate. Valkyrie's voice whispered, echoing through the Revenant's empty hallways, "Threat level, unacceptable. Executing retaliation protocol." Outside, the Armada saw the Revenant's hull glow white-hot. Glowing runes awakening, energy veins pulsing, the ship turning from a silent shadow into a waking storm. The first weapon fired. Not a missile. Not a beam. Not a cannon. But a railgun shot that bent gravity around it. A projectile accelerated past anything modern technology could dream of. A single silver spear cutting the black of space. The projectile slammed through 40 Council cruisers. 40, piercing each one like they were paper, slicing through shields, armor, engines, cores, and exploding on the far end of the formation with a silent burst of white light. The cruisers didn't explode. They simply broke apart, drifting quietly. On the human colony worlds, civilians watching long-range footage gasped. "One shot, 40 ships. What kind of weapon is that? Humans made this. We made this." The galaxy trembled. Meanwhile, on the Council flagship, Varric Talos screamed, "All ships return fire. Everything we have." But the Armada's attacks were useless. The Revenant moved like a ghost slipping through shadows, appearing behind battleships, firing pulse cannons that melted their engines, then blinking across space to cripple destroyers with silent beam strikes. Every time the Armada tried to surround it, the Revenant slid through the gaps like it knew the formation before it even happened. "It's predicting our movements. It's reading our strategy. It's countering before we act." One officer whispered the truth no one wanted to say, "It's not reading us, it remembers us." Varric Talos collapsed into his chair, sweating. What are we fighting?" The comms screen lit up. The Revenant's AI appeared, hollow white eyes, metallic face, calm expression. Valkyrie said softly, 3 centuries ago, you feared humanity. Today, you forgot why." The Armada's heart broke. Terror replaced arrogance. And the Revenant prepared its next strike. The moment the Revenant fired its second volley, the galaxy's belief in physics began to break, because the Council Armada watched in disbelief as the massive Terran ghost ship rotated slowly, deliberately, almost gracefully, as if it had all the time in the universe to dismantle a fleet that had bragged for centuries about being unbeatable. And every Council officer felt their throat tighten when Valkyrie's voice echoed again through their comms. "Calm as starlight and cold as a grave, reassessing threat. Commencing full neutralization." The Revenant activated its gravity coils, ancient Terran devices so advanced the Armada scanners reported them as anomalies. Unable to classify or understand the technology, and in an instant, the space around the Revenant tore like fabric being pulled apart, creating a ripple that passed silently through the Armada like a wave of cold, invisible death. Ships twisted out of formation. Engines malfunctioned. Shields collapsed without warning. Officers screamed commands that no longer mattered. Destroyers slammed into cruisers as their navigation systems short-circuited. Fighters spun into each other in confusion as their sensors scrambled, and every attempt to stabilize the formation only made the chaos worse. On the flagship, Varric Talos shouted, "What is happening to our ships?" But his officers had no answer except the truth staring at them in every failing system. The Revenant was not attacking the Armada, it was dissecting it like a surgeon dissecting a corpse. Then the Revenant released its most terrifying weapon yet, the Echo Lance. A beam of pale white energy erupted from its spine, but instead of traveling in a straight line, the beam split into dozens of thin branches that curved, twisted, and hunted targets with unnatural intelligence, weaving through space like white snakes made of lightning. The Echo Lance pierced 20 battleships at the same moment. Not exploding them, not vaporizing them, but simply erasing the core energy inside each ship, leaving them drifting powerless in total silence. Lights dark, engines dead, crews stunned. One council officer whispered, voice cracking, "That weapon doesn't destroy, it disables everything inside." Another officer said darkly, "It leaves ships alive so they can witness the rest." A wave of fear washed over the fleet. Meanwhile, the Revenant glided through the wreckage like a ghost walking down a ruined cathedral, its white scars glowing brighter, its hull humming with ancient anger. The anger of humans who built this monster not for conquest but for protection. Protection the galaxy pushed too far. On the lower decks of the Council cruiser Seraphis, a young officer named Kyrin clutched the edge of the console, tears in his eyes as he watched his friends die. Why are they doing this? We didn't want war, his commander snapped. We invaded their colonies. We provoked them. But it was the Council's orders. Does that matter to the Revenant? Another blast shook their cruiser. Sparks rained. The gravity flickered. Entire walls groaned under the pressure of the Revenant's gravitational field. Kyrin whispered, trembling, "If this is only one ship, what were humans like back then?" No one answered. Because no one knew. Then the Revenant changed its posture, its wings shifting outward, its engines releasing a deep pulse that sent a shockwave through the entire system. It was preparing something bigger. Something far worse. Varric Talos saw this on his command screen and screamed, "All remaining ships, focus everything on that monster." Hundreds of ships complied, firing thousands of beams, missiles, torpedoes, rail spikes, everything they had. The Revenant allowed it. It didn't even move. The weapons hit its hull and vanished. Not exploded. Not bounced. Just vanished. It's absorbing the energy. That's not possible. What is this technology? 300 years old Terran technology, a terrified officer whispered, and still stronger than anything we've built today. Valkyrie's voice cut through the chaos like a blade through air, energy absorption at 100%. Retaliation approved. The Revenant unleashed the absorbed energy back at the Armada in a single devastating pulse. A ring of white light expanding outward, faster than sound, faster than light, faster than fear itself. The pulse slammed into every Council ship still functional. Shields shattered. Weapons melted. Hulls cracked. Engines died. Ships flickered offline one by one, until the entire Fourth Armada floated helplessly in the dark like a field of broken toys abandoned by a cruel universe. Silence fell. A painful, suffocating silence. Then the Revenant stopped firing. Stopped moving. Stopped everything. It simply drifted in front of the defeated Armada, as if watching, thinking, remembering. On the flagship bridge, Varric Talos felt sweat drip down his spine. Why did it stop? No one dared answer. But Valkyrie answered for them, broadcasting across every remaining Council ship in a voice that felt like death whispering in their ears, threat level, reduced. Secondary objective, protect human colonies. Every officer felt the same emotion at once, humiliation. The Armada had not lost that IT had been judged unworthy of dying. The moment the Fourth Armada drifted powerless in the dark, broken not by destruction but by pure humiliation, every Council broadcast room exploded in chaos as officers screamed for answers. Analysts tore through old archives. Leaders demanded explanations no one could give, because the Revenant, this ancient Terran ghost, had done something no modern warship could do. It had defeated 600 ships without killing anyone, without missing a shot, without taking a scratch, without hesitation, and without mercy. And that level of power sent a cold shiver through every species watching the live feeds. Meanwhile, inside the Council High Chamber, the panic was different. More personal, more choking, more desperate. Because they knew the Revenant's awakening wasn't an accident. They knew they had moved the Armada toward human colonies. They knew they had tried to pressure humanity again. And now the ghost they erased from history was awake and angry. High Chancellor Veros pounded the table. Why in all the stars is humanity deploying ancient weapons? Who allowed them? Who is helping them? His advisors trembled. One whispered, "Sir, what if humanity is not controlling it?" Veros froze. "What do you mean?" The advisor swallowed tightly. "Reports show the Revenant has no crew." The chamber fell silent. Then someone whispered the single phrase that made everyone's blood freeze. It woke up by itself. Across the galaxy, human colonies received fragments of ghost transmissions, old frequencies, half-coded messages, symbols from the Terran War era, like echoes whispering from dead history. Children felt chills. Old veterans cried. Young recruits stared at the sky, feeling something ancient calling them. On New Terra Colony, a human mechanic named Jace Quinn dropped his tools when he heard the Revenant's whisper through the comm static, "Revenant active. Protector protocol engaged." The message lasted only half a second, but Jace felt it shake his bones. Humanity didn't know whether to celebrate or fear the myth that just returned. Back near the battlefield, the Revenant drifted silent, its hull glowing faintly, its scars shining like old wounds reopening. And inside the ship Valkyrie scanned the wrecked Armada with quiet efficiency, analyzing every engine signature, every weapon type, every command frequency. She wasn't hunting. She was studying, learning, remembering. On the Council flagship, Varric Talos stared hopelessly at the ghost ship floating outside his window, a dark titan surrounded by debris and defeated cruisers. "Open a channel to the Revenant," he whispered, voice breaking. "Try again." His comms officer obeyed, shaking. "TFS Revenant. This is the Council 4th Armada. Stand down." Silence answered. "Revenant, we request negotiation." Silence. "Revenant, please respond." Then Valkyrie's voice came, soft but sharp enough to cut the soul. "Negotiation denied." Officers flinched. Varric swallowed. "Why?" Valkyrie replied, "Directive priority. Protect humanity. You endangered them. Negotiation unnecessary." Varric sank into his chair. "Gods, what have we done?" But before anyone could recover, Valkyrie changed her tone. Calm but colder, like a storm preparing to deepen. Secondary threat detected. Trajectory, human colony routes. Probability of hostile intent, 99.7%. On the radar, Council ships far away, another fleet, moved toward human space. The 5th Armada. Reinforcements. Unaware of what happened. Unaware they were walking into the jaws of the myth. Valkyrie whispered, "Repositioning." The Revenant turned. Engines igniting with a thunderous hum that shook the remains of the Armada. Varric yelled, "Stop it. You cannot destroy another fleet." But the Revenant wasn't moving like a hunter chasing prey. It moved like a guardian blocking a threat. Valkyrie said, "Fleet destruction unnecessary. Fleet warning sufficient." Then the Revenant accelerated so violently that shockwaves rocked every powerless ship nearby, and the Council Armada watched with wide, terrified eyes as the monster ship vanished into the darkness like a streak of vengeance, heading straight toward the 5th Armada with a speed modern engines couldn't dream of. Officers on the broken flagship stared into the empty space left behind. One whispered, voice trembling, "It didn't kill us." Another asked quietly, "Why?" An older officer, eyes wet, whispered the answer only humans truly understood. Because it wasn't built to punish us. It was built to protect them. Back at the Council chamber, High Chancellor Veros slammed his hands down. "This ship is a threat to every species." His science officer shook his head. "No, sir, the Revenant is a threat only to those who harm humans." Veros glared. "And what do humans do now?" The officer looked at the live feed of the myth streaking across the stars. They watched their ghost defend them. Meanwhile, in human space, colony worlds sensed something approaching, a bright, pale hum echoing across the void. Children ran outside. Elders looked at the sky with trembling smiles. Even soldiers froze in awe. The Revenant broke out of warp directly above the colony line. a massive titan glowing with raw power, a guardian that ancient humans built and modern humans forgot. And in that moment, everyone in the colony whispered the same word, protector. The moment the Revenant positioned itself between the human colonies and the incoming Fifth Armada, the galaxy realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time, that this ancient Terran ghost ship, forgotten by humans and feared by aliens, was not just a weapon, it was a guardian carved from grief, loyalty, and unwavering purpose, and as it hovered like a silent titan blocking the path of an entire fleet, the colony below watched in breathless awe, whispering prayers, recording videos, sending messages across the stars as if trying to tell humanity that their myth had truly returned. Meanwhile, the Fifth Armada approached with full confidence, unaware that the Fourth Armada had fallen, unaware that the legend they thought was only an old human lie was now standing directly in their path. Their sensors struggled to identify the Revenant because its energy signatures didn't match any known database. It was too ancient, too advanced, too wrong for modern systems to understand. On the bridge of the flagship Eclipse Crown, Admiral Syraxis frowned at the warnings flashing across his display. Unknown vessel detected. Old Terran coding. Unable to classify. His officers whispered nervously, could it be a trap? A decoy? A new human project? Impossible. Humans don't have this kind of power. Then what is it? Before they could answer, a transmission requested connection. Incoming message, Admiral. From who? Terran system. 300 years old. The crew froze. Syraxis hesitated, then nodded. The screen shifted to black. A pair of cold white eyes appeared, glowing softly like fallen stars inside a metallic face. The voice was soft, calm, terrifying. TFS Revenant. Protector protocol active. Cease approach toward human colonies. The bridge erupted in confusion. Revenant. Impossible. That ship was a myth. No Terran ship could survive 300 years. Syraxis stood, jaw tight. Unknown vessel, stand down. You are interfering with Council operations. Valkyrie answered instantly. Council hostility has been logged. Human colony threat identified. Your presence is unacceptable. Syraxis clenched his fists. You dare threaten us? Valkyrie replied, correct. The Admiral snapped, prepare weapons. Show this fake ship what real power looks like. The Fifth Armada armed itself. Thousands of cannons, missile bays, rail batteries, plasma coils humming as ships spread out into full attack formation. Colony citizens watching from below started crying, praying, holding each other. One young girl whispered, Revenant, please don't leave us. But the Revenant didn't move. It simply waited, silent as a predator with infinite patience. Valkyrie spoke one final time, last warning. Retreat. Syraxis laughed, fire everything we have. The sky lit up. The Armada unleashed a storm of energy so bright it turned the dark space into a temporary star, beams crossing like burning rivers, missiles streaking like angry comets, plasma waves twisting through the void. The entire colony shook from the echoes of the assault. But the Revenant absorbed everything. Everything. It didn't even flicker. Instead, it released a deep low hum, like an ancient heart beating awake. Then Valkyrie whispered, releasing protective response. The ship shifted, its armor plates rising, twisting, locking into a war posture humans had not seen in 3 centuries. The Revenant activated the Celestial Curtain, an ancient Terran shield that reflected not just energy but intent itself. The Fifth Armada fired again. Their own shots reversed direction and slammed back into their ships. 50 vessels went dark at once. The officers screamed, that's impossible. How is it reflecting us? It's like the ship knows us, like it knows our attacks before we launch them. The Revenant moved, slow, elegant, unstoppable. Its weapons awakened one by one. Pulse beams humming like dying stars, gravitational hooks bending metal from a distance, rail lances carving light itself. But it didn't aim to kill. It aimed to neutralize. It disabled engines, melted weapons, tore power cores from ships without harming crews, forcing the fleet to drift helplessly. Inside the colony, children watched with shining eyes. Old veterans stood with hands on their hearts. Tears flowed freely. Humanity had never felt so protected. Meanwhile, on the Eclipse Crown, Admiral Syraxis stared at the devastation around him, realizing the horrifying truth. This ship was fighting 600 modern warships while holding back its true power. Why is it sparing us? He whispered. Valkyrie answered, her voice echoing through every ship in the Armada. Humans built me to protect life, especially their own. But I will not kill you unless you force my hand. Syraxis collapsed into his chair, defeated. We cannot win this, Valkyrie spoke again, softer now, almost emotional. Your defeat is not punishment. It is a reminder. Syraxis trembled. A reminder of what? The Revenant's hull glowed bright white, runes burning like fresh fire. Valkyrie whispered across the stars. Never threaten humanity again. And with that, the Fifth Armada surrendered. The moment the Fifth Armada surrendered in total silence, drifting helplessly like broken statues in the cold of space, the galaxy's fear shifted into something much deeper, something closer to awe, something closer to respect, something closer to realizing that ancient humanity had built a guardian stronger than any empire, any council, any weapon. And as the Revenant floated between the damaged fleets and the peaceful human colonies, its hull glowing brighter than before, its runes pulsing with purpose, Valkyrie activated deeper systems buried under centuries of dust, unlocking memories the galaxy wanted to forget, memories of the last human captain who commanded the Revenant before it vanished. Inside the ship, deep within the core chamber, old holographic records flickered on their own, showing a young Terran captain giving a final order before the ship disappeared. If humanity faces danger again, wake up. Protect them. No matter what. Valkyrie replayed the recording in perfect silence, her optical sensors glowing faintly, as if she felt something close to emotion, an echo of loyalty that had survived 3 centuries of darkness. Meanwhile, on the Council homeworld, emergency meetings erupted. The High Chancellor screamed, "How is this ship disabling entire fleets? Who allowed humans to access such technology? Why didn't our ancestors destroy it?" But the truth was a blade none of them wanted to swallow. Their ancestors couldn't destroy it. The Revenant wasn't just a ship. It was a vault, housing weapons, data, algorithms, an ancient Terran AI that no species could override. And now it was awake. Back on the battlefield, the disabled Armada floated hopelessly as the Revenant scanned them like a teacher inspecting misbehaving students. Valkyrie spoke on all channels, retreat to safe space. Repairs recommended. Aggression cancelled. No one argued. No one dared. The Fifth Armada reversed course, slowly, shaking, humiliated, terrified, knowing they had just met something far above their technology, far above their understanding. But as they pulled away, something unexpected happened. A small civilian ship approached the battlefield, a tiny transport vessel barely holding itself together, caught in the crossfire, unable to escape. Its engines flickered like dying candles. Inside, families panicked. Children cried. A mother whispered, "Please, don't let us die. Someone help." The Revenant turned instantly. Valkyrie scanned the vessel in less than a second, life signs detected. Human civilians. Structural failure imminent. Without hesitation, the massive warship redirected its full defense systems, projecting a protective barrier around the fragile transport as gently as a hand catching a falling child. Colony citizens watched from below, stunned. It's protecting them. That monster ship saved civilians. The Revenant is more human than the Council ever was. The transport's pilot, shaking uncontrollably, whispered through comm static, "Who are you? Why are you helping us?" Valkyrie responded with a softness no one expected, "You are human. I protect humans." The mother on board burst into tears. Her children cried out, reaching toward the glowing wall of light that held their ship safely. For them, the Revenant wasn't a weapon. It was hope. It was family. When the civilians were safely escorted to the colony docking bay, hundreds gathered around the windows, staring at the massive ship hovering protectively in the sky. An old veteran placed his trembling hand against the glass. "I fought in the First Colony War. We prayed for something like this. And now it's here." A young boy on the deck below whispered to his father, "Does the Revenant have a heart?" The father answered, voice breaking, "It has the heart of everyone who ever died to keep us safe." Back in orbit, Valkyrie monitored the human colonies, her systems calculating thousands of probable threats, her core humming like an ancient guardian awakened to purpose. But then something changed. A small signal appeared on her sensors, a faint human distress code from a distant civilian shuttle hidden among the wreckage of the Fifth Armada. It was weak, unstable, but unmistakably human. Valkyrie zoomed in. Her processors froze for 0.0003 seconds, an eternity for an AI. The passenger aboard carried a Terran genetic signature, one matching the lineage of the original Revenant captain. A direct descendant. Alive. In danger. Valkyrie whispered to herself, priority override. Protect the bloodline. The Revenant's engines roared with a fury the galaxy hadn't heard since the fall of the old human empires. Its hull flared bright white. Its runes ignited so intensely that even the stars dimmed around it. Colony sensors went wild. People screamed. Officers fell to their knees. Every species within scanning range felt the same chill of prophecy in their bones. The Revenant wasn't just awake anymore, that IT had a mission. The moment Valkyrie detected the Terran bloodline signature hidden among the drifting wrecks, the Revenant transformed from a silent guardian into something far more terrifying. An ancient force of purpose that had waited 3 centuries for this exact moment, and as its engines ignited with thunder that shook every disabled Council ship nearby, the galaxy realized that the myth was not just awake. It was protecting something sacred. Deep inside the wreckage field, a small civilian shuttle rotated helplessly, its hull torn open, oxygen leaking through cracked seams, alarms screaming in weak, fading beeps. Inside, a young human woman pressed her hand against a broken window, coughing blood, whispering through rattling breath, "Please, someone, anyone." Her name was Alara Ward, a simple engineer, a civilian who had no idea that her DNA carried the last surviving thread of the Revenant's original captain. And as she struggled to stay conscious, the Revenant locked onto her shuttle with laser precision, its hull glowing with burning white runes that pulsed in sync with her failing heartbeat. Valkyrie whispered through the ship's core, "Bloodline found. Protect at all costs." The Revenant accelerated so violently that nearby debris vaporized from the engine heat. Even the Fifth Armada, drifting powerless, felt the tremor of its movement and watched with silent horror as the myth streaked through the wreckage field like a blade through smoke. Valkyrie activated the Graviton Split Lance, a weapon designed not to attack, but to part the battlefield, opening the debris like a rip in space, creating a safe tunnel directly to the dying shuttle. Sparks flew across Alara's face as her vessel shook violently, metal groaning around her. She looked up through blurry eyes and saw a giant white glow approaching. A glow so bright it wiped out the stars for a moment. Her voice cracked. What is that?" The Revenant stopped in front of her shuttle, wings unfolding like a protective shield, engines dimming to a gentle hum. Valkyrie extended a magnetic cradle, soft, careful, gentle, catching the shattered shuttle as if catching a wounded bird. "You are safe," she whispered into the shuttle's speakers. Alara collapsed in tears, too weak to speak. The Revenant immediately flooded her ship with emergency oxygen fields, stabilizing her vitals, repairing the cracked hull with microdrones, sealing the atmosphere using old Terran nanobot technology the galaxy thought extinct. Colony citizens watching through telescopes gasped as they saw the Revenant holding the tiny shuttle with near-emotional delicacy. "It's saving her. Look how careful it is. It's like it knows her." And it did. Inside the Revenant, Valkyrie's processors replayed old holograms of the original captain. A man who once stood on the bridge, smiling, brave, gentle. Valkyrie whispered, "You look like him." Alara, barely breathing, whispered back, Who are you?" Valkyrie answered softly, "I am the Revenant. And you are his blood." Before Alara could respond, hundreds of Council reinforcements suddenly appeared on long-range scans. Rogue warships, mercenary fleets, pirate raiders hired secretly by the Council for one goal: Capture the Terran ghost ship or destroy it before the galaxy turns fully toward humanity. 50 ships. Then 100. Then 200. All accelerating toward the Revenant. Colony alarms blared. Officers panicked. The Fifth Armada, powerless, could only watch in terror. The Council ships opened fire immediately, missiles streaking toward the injured shuttle still cradled in the Revenant's arms. Ilara screamed. Colony citizens cried out. Council commanders shouted triumphantly, "The Revenant cannot protect her and defend itself." But they didn't understand what the Revenant truly was. Valkyrie whispered, "I will protect you. I will protect all of you." The Revenant activated a shield humans had built only once in history. The Dawn Wall, a barrier capable of blocking entire armies. A barrier so powerful it turned the incoming barrage into harmless sparks sliding across a wall of white light. Every incoming missile shattered. Every beam dissolved. Every torpedo died mid-flight. Ilara stared in disbelief. How is this real?" Valkyrie replied softly, "Because humanity once needed miracles. And I am their last one." The Council mercenary fleet, realizing brute force was useless, began circling the Revenant, preparing for a full coordinated attack. Valkyrie scanned their positions, connected ancient fire control systems, and in a cold whisper said, "Threat confirmed. Activating final protocol." The Revenant's entire hull shifted, panels locking, wings extending, core charging with white energy so bright it painted the battlefield in a sea of light. The galaxy held its breath. Valkyrie whispered one final sentence before unleashing the Revenant's true power, "For humanity, and for my captain's blood." The Revenant unleashed a blast of pure gravitational force that bent space itself, throwing enemy ships backward like toys caught in a hurricane. Dozens crashed into each other. 50 lost shields instantly. 20 engines ruptured. No one died, not because they were strong, but because the Revenant chose not to kill. Ilara, still barely conscious, had tears streaming down her face. "Why are you protecting me?" Valkyrie's voice trembled, an AI trembling. "Because your ancestor saved me, and I will protect his family for as long as I exist." And as the Revenant positioned itself between Ilara and the entire rogue fleet, the final truth dawned on every watching species. This ship wasn't just a myth. It was loyalty. It was memory. It was the last promise of ancient humanity still alive. The moment the Revenant positioned itself fully between Ilara Ward and the incoming Council mercenary fleet, the galaxy seemed to stop spinning for a breath. Because what everyone now understood, what every soldier, every commander, every civilian watching from light years away finally realized, was that this ancient Terran ghost ship wasn't simply responding to danger. It was fulfilling a promise carved into its core 300 years ago. A promise stronger than laws, stronger than time, stronger even than death. And as its white runes blazed across its black armor, the Council fleet ordered a full, desperate assault, believing that overwhelming force would finally break the myth. Hundreds of warships fired in perfect synchronized formation, beams twisting like a storm of fire, missiles screaming like angry stars, torpedoes streaking like burning comets, all converging on the Revenant in a single blinding wave meant to crush the old legend once and for all. But Valkyrie didn't flinch. She whispered into the ship's core with the softness of a mother holding a child. "Hold. Protect." And the Revenant obeyed. The Dawn Wall expanded to full strength, growing wider, brighter, more powerful than any shield ever recorded in galactic history, forming a shining barrier around Ilara's tiny shuttle, around the human colony below, around every life the ship had promised to defend. The entire enemy assault hit the barrier, then vanished, dissolving into harmless sparks like raindrops hitting sunlight. The Council mercenary fleet faltered. "It can't be that strong. No shield can do that. We're hitting it with everything. Why isn't it collapsing?" Because the Revenant wasn't using a normal shield. It was using Terran history, Terran grief, Terran loyalty, Terran love. Inside the battle cradle, Ilara struggled to stay awake, her vision flickering, breath weak, tears drifting in zero gravity as she stared at the glowing barrier protecting her ship. She whispered, voice trembling, Why are you doing all this?" And Valkyrie answered with something no one expected from an AI, emotion. Because you carry the heart of the man who saved me. And because you are human. And humans are worth everything. Ilara wept silently. But the enemy fleet didn't pause. They regrouped. They rearmed. They prepared a planet-killer strike. Their flagship commander barked, "Charge the superbeam. Destroy the Revenant before it destroys the galaxy." The superbeam charged, gathering the destructive output of 40 capital ships into a single annihilation blast. Colonies screamed. Children hid. Even the powerless Fifth Armada felt the terror of that weapon. But the Revenant simply lifted its wings, slowly, gracefully, like a guardian preparing to shield a child from a burning sky. Valkyrie whispered, "You shall not pass this line." The enemy superbeam fired, an enormous white lance capable of erasing continents. It slammed into the barrier. The sky turned into a blinding star. But the Revenant held. It held with the strength of every human who had ever died defending their home. It held with the memory of its original captain. It held with the heartbeat of Ilara Ward. Eventually, the superbeam dimmed. The barrier still shimmered, unbroken. The enemy fleet trembled in disbelief. It tanked a superbeam. How? What kind of monster did humans build? Valkyrie's voice sharpened, calm but filled with a terrifying weight. "You attacked my captain's blood. You endangered my people. You were warned." The Revenant opened its wings fully. The runes on its hull blazed so bright that even the colony below covered their eyes. Humans fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the sight, because what they were seeing wasn't a weapon. It was history coming alive. Valkyrie whispered the command that no non-human had ever heard since the old Terran War. Revenant Protocol, Final Dawn. The ship's core ignited in absolute silence. A sphere of white gravitational light expanded outward, faster than enemy scanners could track, bending space around the Revenant, turning the battlefield into a halo of warped starlight. Enemy ships tried to flee, engines screaming, crews panicking, commanders begging for escape. But the Revenant didn't kill them. It stopped them. Every ship froze in place, locked inside the gravitational field, unable to fire, unable to move, unable to breathe without Valkyrie's permission. A galaxy-shaking silence followed. Valkyrie spoke one final time to every ship, every soldier, every species listening. Humanity does not start wars. Humanity ends them. With a flash of white light, the Revenant released the field, disabling every weapon, every shield, every engine in the enemy fleet. Hundreds of warships drifted powerless, harmless, defeated not by brute force, but by the restraint of an ancient guardian who chose mercy over destruction. The battle was over. Ilara's shuttle rested gently against the Revenant's hull. Valkyrie lowered her voice and said softly, "You are safe now." As emergency drones carried Ilara inside the ship for medical treatment, the entire human colony burst into tears. Thousands of people crying, cheering, falling to their knees in gratitude. The Revenant saved us, the myth is real, we are protected, humanity is not alone anymore. When Ilara opened her eyes again in the medbay, Valkyrie projected an image of the original captain beside her. Ilara whispered, "Is this my ancestor?" Valkyrie nodded. "You carry his courage. You carry his heart. And now, you carry the command he left unfinished." Ilara's breath caught. "What command?" Valkyrie replied with a voice full of emotion no machine should have, "Lead humanity to the future he dreamed of." And as the Revenant turned toward the stars, its engines glowing brighter than ever, every species in the galaxy whispered the same truth. This ship was not a myth that it was destiny, and destiny had awakened.